All right, we're getting started. Hi, everyone. Well, let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so today we'll be talking about effective record keeping for businesses. And first, let me introduce myself first. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Hicks, Senior Partner Consultant at Zero. And I'm thrilled to be here with my co-presenter, Elena Parks of A Step Above Tax and Business Consulting. I'm also proud to serve as an Asian American and Pacific Islander ERG leader at Zero. So that's helping our community build systems and processes to amplify clarity and confidence, which I think ties into today's session on record keeping and managing cash flows. This presentation is especially meaningful to me after seeing and hearing firsthand USPAACC's mission and vision at the 40th Jubilee this past June. And I really appreciate the opportunity to connect these values to practical strategies that help businesses thrive. And so I'll pass it on to Elena to share a little bit about herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elena Parks, and I am the founder of A Step Above Tax and Business Consulting. We are here out of the beautiful Savannah, Georgia. So I am very glad to be with you guys today. I'm super excited to have some of your time and to share some real great best practices that I not only share on a daily basis with my clients, but they're actually ones that help to maintain and sustain my business today. So I hope you guys are ready for just some good, fun, engaging business strategies that will help you go ahead and get ready to conquer the fear, if you have any, as to recording your expenses and maintaining a positive cash flow. Thanks for having me, Kim.
Yes. Oops. All right. So this is about one of the things that I'm very passionate about is communities. And so we're tying in that communities of purpose. Building strong systems and clarity in our businesses isn't something that we have to do alone. Just to share, last week I had the opportunity to meet Elena in person at one of our roadshow stops in Atlanta. And so it's an event where accountants and bookkeepers come together to share best practices and connect with our community. And being part of a supportive community is powerful. But today we are here for a specific purpose. That's to give you practical strategies to keep your cash flowing, make better financial decisions, build more resilient businesses so you can have the capacity to support your community. With that in mind, let's walk through our today's agenda and what you can expect from this session. First, we will cover how to interpret your financials beyond just profit on paper. We'll also dive into the advantages of accurate record keeping so you can make proactive decisions instead of just scrambling last minute. We'll explore practical habits and small systems that can make a big difference. And finally, we'll discuss how guidance and accountability with an advisor can help take these strategies further for you.
Mhm.
And just small housekeeping before we get started. Um, just so want to make sure that we stay present to make the most out of this session. This will be a conversation between me and Elena, and so feel free to use the chat box to ask questions, and we'll dive into them later on. And again, just like the more we stay present, the more we'll get out of this session. All right. So just a little snippet about me. In my 20s, late 20s, I spent a lot of my overtime salary working at a firm to start a food truck. I was very lucky because as an accountant, I have an idea what it means to start a business because I support my clients, on what that means. Um, I look for free classes myself. So again, it's just having that understanding. But almost everything that I was doing involved cash, and that made record keeping crucial. That experience taught me a lot about like pursuing my passion. Yes, it is inspiring, but without understanding the numbers, it's easy to get stuck. That's exactly the kind of lesson that we want to share with you. Understanding your business numbers, not just for taxes and compliance, but to make smarter decisions every day.
Mhm.
And so when I was running my food truck, I actually realized that it's not just about what I was bringing in. Yes, I was getting paid for the food that I was selling, and I had that money with me, but where was it going? It was going for commissary rental, insurance, taxes, supplies. It just felt like, yes, I am getting paid. And sometimes I get tips, but it wasn't just going to my bank account. Some of them go out quickly. So, this is an area that trips up a lot of business owners. And so, for this session, we are going to touch on how to help you. Well, so Elena, I've touched on cash flow
Yeah.
quite a bit. I think it would be helpful to break down the difference between profit and cash flow for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go ahead and say 100% that it's super important for us to understand what cash flow is, right? So one of the things that I would like to do is I would like to provide a more simpler definitions. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take some of these business terms and we're going to just break them down to actually what they mean. And so starting off with just cash flow, right? We want to go ahead and address cash flow. So what is cash flow? Really, it's just the simple movement of your money. I know we went to this slide, but just to touch on the other slide, and actually this comparison here, there we go, perfect. So what is cash flow, right? It is basically just the movement in and out of your business. It's what's coming in and what's going out. If you guys have heard of this before, it takes money to make money, right? If you guys have heard of that, drop a little, I got you, girl. I heard of that in the chat, okay? But that's absolutely right. There's going to be a time where money will be coming out and there'll be time when money will be coming in. And so right here, we're able to take a look at what's some of the inflow, right? Of course, our sales, the payments, of course, if we borrow money in forms of a loan, investments in any type of grants or, additional funding. And those outflows, what are those? Those are going to be our rent, our payroll, insurance, taxes, supplies, somebody wanting to borrow money. No, I'm just kidding. Those are going to be those are going to be some of the things that we can just expect that are coming out. But it's really what's the movement. So now we can take a look at what's the difference between profit and versus cash flow. All right, I hear this a lot of times where a business may feel like they are profitable, right? I'm making money, things are going well, but your cash flow could say something completely different. So I would like to look at the profit in a business as more so like the report card. Okay, we're gonna break that down into some elementary terms. It's just our report card. It's indicating how well we are doing with our business. But our cash flow is a little bit more intricate than that. It's more so like our wallet. Okay, it's really what's available for you to access right now if you actually needed to. And so, of course, they're going to have different metrics, different things for you to track, right? And we talked about cash flow is your money in and out, but your profit is going to be your revenue minus your expenses. Then you also are going to have your risk components, okay? It's going to be basically, are you going to have enough where you're going to be able to sustain yourself? Or profit is might says we are making money, but you could honestly still be broke. The timing is very important for you to understand. And so this is a very small example, but when we're talking about cash flow versus profit, you could have made the sale, but you may not have received the money just yet. So just that fast, you're able to kind of see how, cash flow and profit are similar, but very different at the same time.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing the difference. They're really not the same. So let's talk about then how record keeping is useful for planning and why it's important.
Oh, yes. Record keeping is going to be basically us keeping a documented track on what's going on. I love to start here as a tax specialist. I love to just let my clients know that record keeping is actually not one of those things where you say, I can be considered a business and I might not have to do it. The IRS is very clear and transparent that they require for you to, if you want to be considered to be a business, you have to have record keeping. They want to make sure that you're keeping track of your income, and they also want to know that you have something solid that is tracking your expenses as they relate to the business. So that's really all record keeping is. There are several different ways that we can attack that if we want to say, but there are easier ways, and so hopefully I can share some things and ease a little anxiety as we go through the slides.
Yes, for sure. And I think that opens up to discussing cash flow forecasting using the records that we keep. How does record keeping affect your cash flow forecast?
Absolutely. I love cash flow forecasting because it allows you to make some real concrete plans based off of this report, okay? It shows you ahead of time whether you're going to have enough money to actually pay your bills, if you're going to be able to have when you have shorter time frames, what business is slower, different things. It's really like forecasting, right? If you can predict what's going on by using the numbers, you're able to plan so much better. You're able to prepare your business, your customers, your team members a lot more for what's to come by having accurate record keeping.
Yes. So now that we have that, I think it would be good to just show a little example.
Oh yeah, love this example. So yes, all right. So this is how we can quickly see that we are profitable, right? But just that fast, the cash flow could also still suffer, right? So this is just one quarter, it's the first quarter of the year. And let's just say our client is showing this type of cash in for January 5, February 6,000, and March 4,000. But you can't forget, right? Takes money to make money. Let's look and see what's actually coming out. So as you can see in January, the positive cash flow is 500. February has also a positive five cash flow at 200. It's decreased though. So that's also an indicator for us, right? And then March, we can actually see that though we made money, we made profit, we still struggle with our cash flow. Okay. We made money, but we had more expenses that came out. And so that's going to give us a negative cash flow. If you were not tracking this at all, this could be very tricky in making sure that you are able to prepare for those slow months, make smarter decisions, right? If you were trying to figure out if this was a good time for you to invest in some new equipment or make a new purchase, perhaps we need to say maybe not this first quarter because our money is doing like this. But this gives you an indicator on when you can make those purchases or if you need to hold off for a little while, right? So by having a good cash flow, you're able to make better predictions.
Yes. This really highlights how timing of cash in and out can impact our business. And so let's go over some best practices to keep our cash flowing. And I think let's talk about the money coming in.
Very important. This is me saying this to all my virtual people. Okay, this means money coming in. So we're going to talk about that and how we want to continue to have the money come in, right? Yes, Kim, that's right. And so these are best practices that I like to share with my clients. Well, you want to get very clear on making sure you have some best practices to lean on. For instance, setting clear payment terms. We have to be very upfront with our clients and our customers. I always say people are only going to take you as serious as you present yourself. Okay. So I would definitely say get some invoicing going on. Go ahead and get it on a nice letterhead to show your clients that you are established as a business, and then be very clear as to when you expect them to make their payments. Okay. If you like to keep that cash flow positive, you may want to consider offering early payment initiatives, right? Incentives. And so that is just going to kind of pique their interest. If they can save money, which most people love to do, share how your business is able to offer some discounts if they just go ahead and pay up front, right? Invoicing promptly, right? Sometimes we hold ourselves up. This was a very, if I could just have a moment of reflection for my business. When I first started, I am doing everything. If you're anything like me and you started your business off as a one woman or one man show, you can see how quickly that can get overwhelming. And so, though I was the person to do the work, initially, onboard the client, actually get the work done, I was like, well, why haven't they paid me yet? Well, guess what? People were waiting for me to send them an invoice. And I had to learn very quickly that people, though they may know that you provided the service and you did it, they are still waiting for that. Okay. So invoice promptly. And then we also want to keep in mind as business grows, right? Maybe at first you have 10 clients, so you know which 2 out of that 10 had not paid you, right? Right. But as you continue to grow, it will become very hard to kind of calculate how many accounts that you actually have out there that have not been paid. So I would say definitely get in some type of process. I would say track them weekly so you can know exactly who owes you and how much they owe. And then don't forget the power of a good follow-up or automation, okay? This is that friendly nudge, that friendly reminder from software that can just simply say, hey, there's an invoice that's waiting to be paid. Sometimes, just like your business, your clients or your customers can get caught up in things and they have every intention on paying you, but a friendly reminder can truly help. And then here's one of my favorite ones, right? Don't put so much pressure on yourself. If you have a business where you actually are going to be doing some services for a client, or the mostly for services, then you might want to go ahead and ask them to put down a deposit. Okay, the deposit will help enhance your cash flow in the right now, allowing you to go ahead and get the materials or whatever you need to access that money for, but then you're able to use that to get started. So that's a really easy one. And you can say, yes, I'll be glad to assist you. We start off by requesting 30% or 20% as a down payment.
Yeah. Thank you. And then I guess I'm not sure how to quote Elena on this, but she was saying earlier how you need to spend money to make money. And so let's talk about payables.
Let's talk about payables. We all have those, right? I love looking at payables as just what you just said, right? It's going to take some things from us. But I think when you take a moment to really prioritize your payables, it gives you a little right? Gives you yes, that's right. Let's channel that, okay? And so I want to have start off with my high priorities, right? Payroll, you got to pay the people. Priority high. Rent, you have to have a place or a location to conduct your business. And we cannot forget our Uncle Sam friend, okay? So taxes is going to be a high priority. And you want to make sure that the time and those things are always going to be on time. Medium is going to be our vendors, our software, some things that we actually need to have to stay functioning. And we want to make sure we pay those before the due date to avoid any interruption to our ability to keep, doing our business. And then there are some things that are going to be low priority, okay? Those are going to be the things that are like supplies of subscriptions, whether you need to make that or that supply order right now, that purchase order at this moment, or do we actually have enough to get us by for another month or so? These are going to be the things that you are kind of assessing on a regular basis so that you can decide whether you can delay them or if you should actually pay them.
Yeah. So it sounds like paying too early can strain cash, but paying too late can hurt relationships. I think it is finding that sweet spot. And so now, talking
Mhm.
about managing receivables and payables, I think the next one is once that is aligned, it will help us with the next best practice, and that's maintaining a cash reserve. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. I love a cash reserve. So, cash reserve is really, if we can take out the fancy word, it's a savings account. It's our rainy day money. Okay. And so we know we need to do that in our personal life, but it's just that much more intricate and of importance when you are a business owner. Okay. So the way I want you to keep building your cash reserve is I want you to actually think of this as one of your regular business expenses, okay? The same way you would pay out your rent or your payroll or get supplies, we also need to put this as part of our expense calculation. And that's just putting some money up for later, okay? And so this is going to help you with slow seasons or people paying you late. It's going to help you with surprise expenses that we absolutely hate, repairs and client chargebacks and things of that nature. It will help you to reduce your reliance on credit and loans, right? If we have this money, we might say to ourselves, I might can actually pull from my cash reserves versus going out and starting that new loan or applying for that new credit card. I'll just be my own bank for a little while just to kind of mediate that. And then it also helps you without making any panic moves. Okay. Those salespeople that can be a little pushy and say, you got to do it right now. You got to do it right now to save big. Well, if that's an opportunity and that's something that you definitely feel like you should go ahead and do, and you might not have the access in your regular checking account, your business checking, this is when that cash reserve might be something for you to go ahead and initiate. But I want to talk more specifically on how do we actually build it, okay? I would say it's always a goal to be 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Okay. Once you adequately calculate them, and we know that because we had great record keeping, right? We are moving with us, guys. We're keeping up with our records, so we actually know how much 1 month of expenses cost us operationally. Then we're going to plan for that to hit that goal of at a 3 month time frame. Okay, so we want to make sure we have 3 to 6 months, and we will break that down by determining that amount and making some transfers from our business checking over to our cash reserves account. All right, and there's a couple different things. So I know I said something real quickly, but I want to slow down. We have to separate those accounts, okay? So if you see the money, sometimes we are more prone to use the money. So if you have not fully separated your accounts, we definitely want to do that. And then keep it out of sight, out of mind. I love a good auto transfer. All right. When I talk about treating this like an expense, if you know every week we're going to put $150 over from our account, go ahead and automate that. Trust yourself that you're going to be successful. Turn that automation on. Okay. And then let's talk about what if that's still not enough? Then we might need to consider increasing our profit margins. Okay. When was the last time you had a price check on your services, a market check on your services or your products so you can see if your pricing is actually where it needs to be? It might be room for an increase. And then also regularly assess those expenses. What can we cut off? What can we actually stop and take that subscription money and actually have that go towards the cash reserves because we no longer need it?
Yeah. That's a good segue to our next best practice, which is mastering expense control.
Oh, yes. Mastering expense control. Have you guys ever heard of you can't really save if you have a hole in your pocket? This is what that is, okay? So, I love this because you have to control the leaks. Most businesses do not go broke, guys, from the lack of income. That's actually not the case. They actually go broke from unmanaged spending, more likely. Okay. So it's not always just about the income, it's actually about what you're able to keep in reserve, right? What you're able to maintain and what's left over at the end. And so there are some habits that can slowly drain your profits that you just want to be aware of. Let me just go down a couple of those. Operation, right? Rent, utilities, and your internet. We want to check on those things. Some of those might be kind of standard. You can't really call. We are here in Georgia, so we use Georgia Power as our electricity. I can't really give them a call and say, hey, you know what? Can y'all lower those rates unless I'm going to leave and go somewhere else? Some of those are just what they are, but you want to just make sure that you know them, okay? But here's one, your team. I love this one because I get to speak to my business owners, and a lot of times we have to take a look when we're looking at their cash flow. We have to find out how much payroll is actually costing us. And then I go a deeper level, right? Who's actually on the payroll? I know nobody wants to hear about, letting people go, but sometimes you don't have to let them go. You just need to move them over to a different department. I will always coach all of my business owners that's on this call that investing in payroll is a ROI. You want to make sure you are experiencing a return on your investment. So if they're not producing, if you have a team member on your team that's not producing, they're actually costing you money versus helping you. So it might be time to have some honest feedback and conversation there just to be sure, okay? Marketing. Oh goodness, how often do we sign up on something and we're like, oh, we'll cancel it once the free subscription goes away? It never goes away. We always forget. And then you look down at it and you're like, I'll do it next month. And then you forget and you forget. Listen, subscriptions, that is part of their actual incentive. That's part of their cash flow. You're part of their cash flow. They're booking on you to forget about this subscription and they can continue to charge your card. You heard it here first. I'm being honest. All right. This is a safe place, right, Kim? You told me
Yes,
everybody
it is.
cool.
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
cool. All right. And then let's not forget our administrative things, the supplies, the bank fees, the software. You definitely, again, I can't stress that enough, making sure that you have some things in place. If one person is ordering, if you have multiple people in your establishment that order supplies, and next thing you know, Amazon is delivering a pallet of supplies and it's paper. And then 2 days later, Sarah, who sits in another department, she didn't know, so she ordered another pallet. And meanwhile, you're just trying to pay the bills, and now you got two big bulks of pallets of paper there. We have to kind of streamline those controllables, okay? Maybe only have one person submit the supplies and another person to approve them. Kind of, delegating those will help you master expenses.
Thank you. And I'm just realizing how relevant this is to our personal lives too. Like, just being part of the household. I'm just thinking about all the expenses that gets duplicated because we are not you're not having that conversation with your partner at home. So anyway, I got sidetracked. The other one, then we'll talk about financial reviews.
Oh, yes. Financial reviews are very important. And so I often have these conversations with some of my single member LLC owners who are like, I do everything. Who should who am I going to talk about my financials with? Well, I'm going to be honest. You're going to talk with yourself. So you need to go ahead and set an appointment with yourself and set some dedicated time to actually review your financials, because there's some reporting about your business that you definitely want to make sure you're able to answer. And so those are my favorite ones. I would definitely say the cash flow statement is a guarantee report. This is going to tell you where you are at the moment, right? This is going to tell us if we're staying liquid. Do we have the ability to pay the bills that are coming, right? We want to make sure we are clear on what's accessible to us. Another one that's very important is the income statement, aka known as the profit and loss statement. This is going to be your report card for your business. So it's going to tell you, how well we're doing in comparison to this month, to last month, or maybe this quarter to last year's quarter. By you able to tracking that, you're going to be able to, have a good understanding of the pulse of your business. And then, of course, one of my absolute favorites is going to be that balance sheet. I love the balance sheet because the balance sheet is your lifelong plan, okay? From the moment you started your business with $100 and you went to your bank of choice and made a deposit, you have already made an investment on your business. Everything else continues to build on that balance sheet after that point, okay? Equipment that we purchase is going to be listed on the balance sheet. If we have to do a startup business loan, that's going to be listed on the balance sheet as well, along with what else we actually have left to pay on it. So this is going to be your assets, your debits, your equity, and this actually shows how stable you are. So I love financial reviews. Can I get a commitment that everybody's going to schedule some one-on-one time if it's just themselves? Right? Yeah, okay, good. I feel good about that. I see some head nods. They're like, yes. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and all these reports that Elena mentions, these are important for when you're growing. So let's say you're gonna be working with a bank, they will actually ask these from you to give you a loan. So I think it's good to have these reviews, self reviews, and working with an accountability partner, just to get ahead. And then I think this is one of the other things that are not really that utilized. So let's talk about KPIs.
Oh, yes. You know what I realized with small business owners, KPIs actually concern them. They kind of avoid them. And I want to kind of change that dynamic because I want you guys to embrace them. A KPI is a key performance indicator. Okay. And what I like to consider it is, let's just imagine that we are in our cars, our vehicles, right? When you see certain lights go off on your dashboard, they're signaling you that something could potentially go wrong, or is needing attention to something. And that's what KPIs are for business owners, all right? They're your indicators, they're your signals, and they let you know what's going on with your business. So some of the common ones that I like to make sure my clients take a look at is the cash conversion cycle. That definitely talks about how fast are we running through the cash that we're making. That's a great KPI to help you to understand, we're going to run out of money by the end of September. You want to know that in advance. Your gross profit margin, right? So after you have made these purchases and you've sold the product, what was your room for growth? What was your room for profit? And that's what we determined there. Again, the burn rate is very similar to the cash conversion cycle. It just really talks about how fast we're going through. Accounts receivable turnover, you want to see how fast your clients are paying. I did want to mention something here that can help out too. When you're trying to figure out, you know what, my clients are just not paying fast. This occurred to me as well with one of my business owners. And I said, well, what's going on? I found out that my client only accepted checks.
Mm.
They were very old school. They believe in writing out a check, or they believed in a cashier's check or a money order. I was asking them, well, what concerns you about accepting digital payments? and they just didn't have a knowledge. They didn't know how it worked. They thought it was very risky. And I had to share importance with them that it's actually more risky to accept that check than than to actually have those payments, being automatically transferred over to them. But I would definitely say check and see what payment options that you have for your clients that can truly help your accounts receivable. And then another KPI that's of importance is going to be your revenue per employee. That's going to let you know exactly how much you're spending for the work that they're doing, and if they're working at a certain pace that helps you deliver and enhance and improve your business. Or this just might be a team member who needs a little coaching or some feedback, or some directions to help improve their performance. So do not be afraid of KPIs. They are signals for your business, but they can really help you make some strategic planning just to ensure your cash flow stays positive.
Yeah, I think it's good information. It's not what do you call this? It's having that information to make informed decision. And it's not always scary, even though it's like you find out that your clients aren't paying fast enough. It does give you an opportunity to have that conversation with your client and what could help them feel more comfortable. So that's really great. So we've talked about best practices. I think this would make let's go over an example to make this more relatable. So let's look at an example with a scenario. As we go through this example, I just want you to think about the similarities to your own business and any other practices that you may already be doing, and then see what aligns, what's different, and where you might be able to apply some of the strategies that we have been talking about.
Yes, absolutely. So I love this. I love this live in a realistic example. So this is Jake, and we're going to say that Jake owns a four-person marketing agency. He has amazing client work, but honestly, Jake is a lot like many of us. He may have lacked strong financial habits. Okay, I want to tell you guys that Jake is making about 20,000 per month in revenue. And though that sounds like a large amount of money, Jake, just like you, thought that he was profitable because the money was coming in, but he didn't realize that about 85% of the money that he had earned was already gone due to cost. So we're going to explore this a little bit more, okay? So I love this. It says rookie and not so rookie mistakes. Listen, this can happen to anybody, no matter where you are on your entrepreneur journey. But Jake, he frequently paid for personal expenses with his business card. When you pay personal expenses using your business funds, it's going to create a complexity on making sure that you're able to really attribute certain transactions that are considered to be business expenses for you to track. So if this is you and you are commingling your funds, I want to encourage you to kind of get some real strong guidelines around it, because it can just kind of complicate things. And it's also one of the things that the IRS frowns upon. Okay. So I want to just throw that out there. But Drake, he also never tracked his spending. Okay. He didn't have any type of record keeping. And so as the bills came in, he just went ahead and paid them, not really caring about the due date or anything like that. He's just getting it done. And so because of that, he will also go ahead and purchase things without really looking to see how much the cash flow had, equipment and subscriptions. And honestly, he also didn't have any cash reserves.
Oof. I'm not sure about y'all, but I tend to do that same thing. Not for my business, for my personal things. It's like, oh, I'm just paying bills, and the next thing you know, it's oh shoot, overdraft, and so that's something to call out. And I just wanted to share that full
Yeah,
transparency.
I love it.
Right, so
You can be honest here. This is a safe place, Kim.
yeah.
I love it. So here we go, Jay. Jay, he also is like, how do I get clients to pay? So he allows his clients to go about 30 to 60 days without paying the invoices because he don't want to pressure them. Okay. Around 60, day 61, he gets a little anxious. But again, 2 months have already went by. And what impact that had on his income and cash flow?
Yeah. I do remember this as being an accountant. I think I was sharing this with Elena.
Mhm.
The work itself is meaningful, but every time I had to send out an invoice, like my stress level was just like skyrockets. And I don't know why. I did the work, they're happy with the work. So, what is it about sending invoices that makes us feel just like, ugh? So, now that we've seen some examples and
Yeah.
reflected on what's familiar or what's not familiar, I think this helps us to shift to thinking about what we can do differently. Um, so again, small changes, new practices can definitely help improve the cash flow and make managing your business easier.
Mhm.
So okay, let's talk about better practices.
Love it. I want to say if you felt some pressure points or some relation with Jake in your own experience with your business, it's okay. So if that made you feel a little bit of anxiety, I want you to rest assured that we have some best practices that can help you. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're like Jake and you don't have a budget, you can definitely work with an accountability partner, an advisor, or somebody to help you actually create some formalities with your budget. Okay. And not just an overall budget, but really get a little bit more intricate with your business personal needs. If you are like Jake and you do poor invoicing, right? You just don't want to pressure those clients, then you know what? You can go ahead and set up some repeating invoices, set up those friendly reminders, automation to just basically help out there. Okay. No reserve funding. I know I said earlier 3 to 6 months, but I'm a believer that we can start off small. If you need to start off with 1 month of business expenses and just make that your number one goal, start there. It doesn't matter. You're going to get there eventually, but I don't want you to be deterrent from it because it's like, I'll never get to 6 months of my expenses. Start off with 1 month. Start off with 1 week. It doesn't matter. Just get started, right? No separation of finances. I pray that you guys have already come to this, but if this is something, I want you to do this today. Go ahead, create that separate account. Make sure that you have a personal account and you're not commingling funds. You can just get in too much trouble. And I want you guys to be better than Drake. Okay. Lack of oversight, right? So this is where we talked about, multiple people in the office ordering. This could also be a risk indicator. I know we don't like to talk about maybe one of our team members taking advantage of us or using our resources and stuff like this. But this is where you want to make sure that you have some approval rules for purchasing, for invoicing, for making bank deposits. For years, I used to work and manage a bank, and they believe heavily in dual control functions. One person is not doing everything because it raises the risk component. Okay. So if you have somebody that is supposed to be doing the invoicing, collecting the money, perhaps that's a different person that actually goes and makes the deposits at the bank. Just a real quick tidbit there. Okay. Those are just some of the things that we can do better, right? Jake is going to live a much better life, I'm sure.
Yeah. And one thing too, it's just like as an accountant, I think it's one thing that we really advise separating your business and personal accounts because I'm not sure how often your accountant reaches out to you when you consolidate those expenses,
Right.
but it does take some time, and that's usually out of pocket. And so that's money that you're spending
Mhm.
when you could have just like, split out the business and personal expenses. So
Mhm.
just a tidbit so you can save more money. So then, since we talk about what we could do, I think this is a good segue to talk about what Zero is.
Yeah.
So Zero is an accounting platform, and ultimately, what do you call this? What Elena shared is something we can help with.
Mhm.
Best practices such as budgeting, invoicing, building reserves, separating your finances. It can be supported with our tool. So for example, with invoicing, you're able to send and track payment, send your invoices from Zero. And you can also send out online payments and receive online payments so you can get paid faster. Cash is king. So we want to get paid faster, and giving them that option to just click on a button that says pay now would allow you to get paid faster. Of course, there's still that option to receive payment via check, but as Elena mentioned, that could be, it's not as secure. And so, if we are able to train you to make, train your clients to send you online payments, that would be, um, that would be ideal. And then payment reminders, we do have that option to send those auto reminders. So you just set them up, so you're not having to like, oh, I didn't get paid on this. You can set up reminders, so it's just automatic.
Mhm.
Bookkeeping, like record keeping, this is where you can sync your bank, so then you're not having to enter your transactions manually. Just pull them from the bank, because what happens in the bank is exactly what happens. It's just like you
Mhm.
paid a vendor, you've received a payment, so why duplicate that effort? Just get
Mhm.
the information directly from the bank. And then of course we have bank rules, which can help you kind of like think about it. It's like how we're creatures of habit. So if you're going to the same stores, you're going to, you're spending money on similar things, it helps to create some bank rules, so that it just helps you with the record keeping. Budgeting is important. Like, we've been talking about like things that would help. Budgeting allows you to set some plans. It's like what's really important and what could be pushed off. Bill pay, of course, like making sure that we're tracking our accounts payable, because we want to pay them timely. If there are things that could be pushed off, great, but of course we still need to pay our vendors timely, because again, we're trying to find that sweet spot. And then financial reviews. Zero has reporting capabilities that would give you the insights that you would need. And so it's just
Mhm.
like something that I wanna share with you today. And of course, with that, we have the tools, but while tools like Zero help you stay organized, I think having an advisor really changes the game, because your advisor is your accountability partner. They
Mhm.
understand your business, they help you with navigating challenges. Again, they keep you accountable. We're
Mhm.
building I think it's important to build a relationship and trust with our advisor, because it's not just tracking numbers. They're really there to support you and
Mhm.
making sure that you're giving guidance, different perspectives, because they work with other business owners. So it's just like kind of like how I work with different partners and accountants and bookkeepers. What I learned from working with one firm just means that I have more information that I can share with an account with another firm. So it's
Yeah.
just again making that informed decision with confidence. Is there anything that you'd like to share on this, Elena?
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how much I have how Zero has been a game changer to my own business. So, of course, here, I specialize in tax preparation with corporations and also individuals. But when I'm working with my business clients and I'm talking to them about all of the capabilities that you just went through with Kim, a lot of times people need a lot of those different services. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, we are having them being taken care of in so many different areas. Okay. I love that Zero is like my all in one, if that makes sense. I can take care of several different things at one time for my clients, from invoicing to record keeping to the financial reporting that it gives, the insight that it delivers. And we have that all in one. As an advisor, I house the relationship, but then my clients have full access that they can go in at any point and check on their reporting, see how things are actually going. I love the transparency that it has between accountant and the client. But I would definitely say Zero really got the hit the ball right and got it right. If I don't have to use 5 different subscriptions and I can just get everything done in one place, I'm a less is more type of girl. So that's why me and Zero are like this. Okay, Kim, we're not leaving.
Thank you. And I love working with you. So this relationship really is meaningful to me.
Yes.
All right. So I think the next thing is just like key takeaways. As we wrap up, remember effective record keeping is the foundation of confident cash flow management. When your books are up to date, you can track consistently. You can spot trends effectively and early. You can make smarter decisions and using tools to simplify the process. Like Elena mentioned, it's like don't hesitate to do this. No, erase. You don't have to do this alone. Work with your advisor, and of course, even that short check in can make a big difference. And then also, I want to share, like, I just put a couple QR codes here. The top right one is a link to Zero, which patient also posted in the chat box. I was able to request a promo code. So it's just USPAACC 2025, and it'll give you 95% off for new Zero subscriptions for you
Whoa.
to test it out for 4 months. So it's I don't think we offer that on the website. So it's just something that you can use. And also, if you are already working an advisor, maybe talk to them about Zero. And if not, if you need a new advisor, I also posted Elena's website on the bottom left hand corner, the QR code on the bottom left hand corner. So it'll take you to her website. Um, and yes, of course, we have time to, answer questions.
Yes. Everybody's still awake.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, let's see. There's a question. I can't see it all the way. Can you read it for me, Kim?
Yes, when it comes to getting paid on time, what's the best way to encourage clients to pay quickly without damaging the relationship with them?
Awesome. I kind of touched on this a little bit, but I do want to highlight these things, right? Setting those clear expectations up front. I know it's going to be one of those things that you feel like is repetitive, but guys, don't miss the opportunity to drop that hint again. So whether that's through the onboarding process, perhaps you are, focusing on or creating a proposal for your client, you're giving them a quote, or perhaps you are, you're at the invoicing stage of it, you're creating a contract. Don't miss out on those small opportunities to just reiterate your specific guidelines on receiving payments and your expectations on when the payment is supposed to be due. So I definitely think, I know that that's one of those uncomfortable situations, but I would say transparency is so key. Don't forget those gentle reminders, those automations. I love to check in with my clients. I think sometimes you never want to just assume that somebody is trying not to pay you. So I always come from a place of like, hey, I pray that this message finds you well. I always start off like that. Here's a friendly reminder that the invoice is due on this day or was due. And then I also like to put the number on there, right? If you send this invoice out prior to when it's due, that's a great time to say, just a friendly reminder, your invoice is due in 5 days. Those impactful days are going to stick to your client's memory bank, and they'll be more likely to remember, your invoice is due this Friday. Those are memorable things that you can kind of lead with.
I'll
Great
also
question.
add, yes,
Mhm.
that's a great question. And I'll also add, there's an option to set up ACH. Like, so pretty much when you're invoicing your clients, of course, you need to make sure that you're having this conversation with your customers. It's getting them to like, there's an option to collect payment through ACH, and then that way, whenever you send out an invoice to them, it will just automatically be drafted from their bank account. Again, establishing that relationship with your client so that they're not surprised with the invoices that is being sent, would be very helpful in getting paid on time faster. Do we have any other questions? Are there smart strategies for negotiating payment terms with vendors to ease cash flow?
Oh, I love that. That's a great question. I would definitely say understand that your vendors that support you are also business owners, right? So you're going to have that normalcy between you and them. And one of their components, like your component, is client retention. Okay. So you'll be surprised how much more they'll be open to negotiating, whether as long as you're being transparent with what you need, your cash flow, typically when you can make the payment, they'll likely they don't want to lose you as a client, right? And they value your business. So I would say, versus you making a paying their invoice late, come up first with maybe creating your own net term pay agreement with them and see if that gives you a little bit of wiggle room to just go ahead and make sure your cash flow is strong enough to support paying their invoice. Trust me, they want to make sure they get paid and they don't want to put you in a bind to do so. That's just not good for business. And then also just don't be afraid to ask. Do you guys have a customer loyalty program? I love that, right? What do they actually have that you could possibly participate in because they want to retain your business? So I think that's good. What do you say? You got anything on that one, Kim?
I think, yeah, no, those are great suggestions. I'd
Mhm.
also say it's not just like the transparency. I think it's also good to like, again, setting expectations so you can, you know, your vendor is also aware. Because again, we're trying to make sure that we're working with our vendors the right
Yeah.
way. Because the same way that we're offering services to our customers, we are the customers, and so it's just
Yeah.
like that community approach is like it goes around. So it's making sure that we find ways to have, um, they're also getting paid because they're working on their cash flows as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, do we have other questions? And I know we have 4 minutes left, so we're right on time. I'm glad that we're chugging along. So this is wonderful.
Awesome.
Um, I don't think there are any more questions. I'm gonna put it back to the last slide in case anyone wants to, take a screenshot or, get the QR codes to link to Elena's website or Zero. And then you'll have to manually type the promo code in when you sign up. So again, that's USPAACC XERO 2025, and that's going to be 95% off for new Zero subscriptions for 4 months. I forgot to add that promotion ends end of September, September 30th. So again, it's just like a good chance to get the product tested out, and then utilize them for, invoicing your customers, trying out the bill pay, and running some reports. And of course, like utilizing the bank feed. So good opportunity to test those out as you work through your system. Um, Oh, how do you address someone who does not pay for whatever reason is one of the questions.
Oh yes. Oh my goodness. That's like such a tricky one.
Yeah.
And it's hard, right? I've experienced that before as well. A lot of times I try to, like I said, come from a place of understanding with my client when when you are offering yourself for services or for product retail or whatever you're doing, right, you are also vetting your client too. So you are getting to understand that this is somebody that you want to do business with. If a client is just not paying, I would come from a place of were you satisfied with the production, where's everything, did you have any questions? I typically lean into trying to resolve what could be, is there an issue? If it's a financial issue too, and maybe funds are tight for them, as unfair it is that you have already provided the service, I also still try to work out something amongst ourselves. Maybe we can break this invoice down, perhaps, and maybe set up some manageable monthly, or weekly payments. Just try to come from a place of understanding. I don't underestimate the power of a good legal team, but have those contractual agreements to just kind of let your clients know if we have to go to arbitration or any type of mediation, this is what could happen. But yes, my heart is for you, Purdy. I understand. Yeah, that's a tough one for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think it's we're gonna wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is very meaningful to us, and yes, thank you to USPAC for organizing this. And
Yes.
yeah,
Complete the survey, guys. We would love for you to give us feedback. Kim and I, we want to make sure we are producing content that is helpful to our business owners that we love so much. You are not in this journey alone. Just want to let you know that you have some partners. And we are excited to learn. So please complete the survey. We love to get the feedback. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the invite.
thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye for now.